In 2010, we got to see the final curtain fall on the Command & Conquer story. 15 years of storytelling and development, Tiberium Dawn to Tiberium Twilight. Surely, this culmination of a generational series would be a landmark moment for the RTS genre. I'm sure you already know where I'm going with this. I have tried to defend the direction of Command & Conquer post-EA acquisition. In previous reviews, I have passed a skeptical eye over the notion that EA killed Command & Conquer. Having played this mess, this abomination of a game, I can no longer hold back the tide on this notion. EA killed Command & Conquer. If you watched my review of Red Alert 3, you will know that I found Red Alert 3 to be a disappointment when held up to the legacy of what preceded it. I want to dissuade you from any such ideas today. Command & Conquer 4 is not simply a disappointment in the context of its franchise. It is an objectively bad game. One of the worst RTS games I have ever played. I'm Strategy Tom, and God, if I must, this is the classic review of Command & Conquer 4, Tiberium Twilight. The story starts off somewhat promising as Kane arrives at GDI headquarters in my hometown of Manchester, England. That small pop at seeing Manchester was the highlight of my time with Command & Conquer 4. It's all downhill from here. While the ideas of Command & Conquer at large have always been ludicrous and over the top, with an alien plant-like substance becoming the catalyst for global conflict against a seemingly immortal messiah-like figure and his cult of followers. But the storytelling has always been excellent within the universe. The character of Kane has always been fascinating to me, and Kane's presence has always been listed as a positive in every prior Tiberium Wars story that I have reviewed. But CNC4 couldn't even get that right. The story is just told awfully. Okay, so what is the story? Earth is reaching a critical state in regards to the Tiberium infestation, and Kane decides to put aside a century-old conflict to work with GDI in combating Tiberium. Okay, that's fine. I'm all good so far. We skip ahead a number of years and there are Nod separatists who call Kane a false prophet and abhor the idea of working with GDI. You have to help GDI keep Kane safe so he can use the Tacitus to help GDI. You play a faceless commander who has just recovered from their wounds from a previous engagement and is just getting back into the fight. The story is told via an implant in your brain and the camera moves around as if we are viewing things in first person. In previous games we've had faceless protagonists, but you're essentially told, "Hi Commander, here's the situation, go here and do this." The level starts and you go there and you do that. In Command & Conquer 4 we have a wife and a backstory. Hey, game developers, here's a tip for the future, because CNC4 is not the only one guilty of this, but giving our character a romantic partner to be invested in doesn't count if we don't actually see their relationship. I don't care about this annoying woman who's constantly fussing over me. I just want to blow something up. Go away. Eventually, after 3 boring tutorial missions that you can't skip, Kane presents you with a choice. Either stay with GDI or defect to Nod. In my playthrough, I obviously chose to defect and started playing the Nod campaign. In this first proper mission, you are tasked with guarding a civilian convoy, which includes your wife. Her transport is tragically destroyed. Oh no, so sad. You later find out that she survived and Kane has her and is using her as leverage to keep you on side. This is the first bit that makes no sense to me. I've just defected away from GDI, the institution that I have fought for most of my life. That's a big deal. Why would Kane think I need to be threatened? It makes no sense. I'm clearly already on side if I have just made that monumental switch. After this, we are apparently fighting GDI again, as well as the Nod Separatists. Is there still a ceasefire? When did that end? Did my defection cause that? An entire world war? Seems a bit extreme. This is what I mean when I say the storytelling is awful. Things just kinda happen. I'm never really sure what's happening or why. The ultimate goal, I think, is to control a series of Tiberium control networks, which will help reverse the spread of Tiberium while still allowing mankind to harness it as the ultimate energy source. Kane also wants to activate a tower that had been built by the Skring during their invasion during Command & Conquer 3, thus allowing him to achieve Ascension. Or something. I'm not really sure, but it does sound like they're going all in on that Jesus metaphor. There is a bit at the end of the Nod campaign in Command & Conquer 3 where Kane talks about using the Skrin Tower to ascend. Do yourself a favour and create your own headcanon where that's the end. Kane ascends there and then, and we can all pretend that none of this garbage ever happened. You'll be much happier. So, the story was bad, yes. However, it is the gameplay that is the most egregious thing about this dumpster fire of a game. This is usually the part where I might say, you know the basics of a Command & Conquer game by now, but not today. Not today because some genius thought it would be a great idea in the last game of the series to completely tear it all up and do away with the fundamental core gameplay mechanics that this franchise was built on. There is no base building in Command & Conquer 4. Furthermore, despite them banging on about how much Tiberium is taking over, there is also no harvesting of Tiberium, no resource collection at all. How? Why? Who thought this was a good idea? Who signed off on this? I might, and that is a very big might, be able to forgive this and just roll with the new concepts if they were any good. But it's not. It's awful. It's so bad. So what is it exactly? You start each mission by deploying a unit called a crawler. Your crawler is essentially a mobile construction yard, war factory and barracks all rolled into one. How does that make sense, you may ask? It doesn't, is the answer. You'll be given a series of points to capture and hold or units to escort from one place to another, and you and your merry band will just wander around the map looking for whatever it is you're meant to be doing. Command & Conquer 4's gameplay has the terrible combination of being at once stressful and intense, but also really boring. The fact that there is zero resource management comes into play here. With no resource management, what dictates what units you can and can't build? Well, that's down to a unit cap, only allowing a certain number of troops on the field of battle at any one time. The trick with this game is just to queue up a vast swathe of units to be built by your crawler. If you're in an intense fight, just deploy your crawler, and as soon as one unit is destroyed, it will be replaced. With no resources to manage, this can be done indefinitely should you require. Unfortunately, your enemies tend to have the same idea, and one time I was stuck in a standoff against an enemy crawler, and the two of us just kept pumping out tank after tank, not actually getting anywhere or achieving anything. To say it is a slog is an insult to slogs. Every single mission is just a case of you pumping out as much as you can, as fast as you can, in order to combat the same never-ending wave of enemies just coming at you. There's no sense of tactics or strategy to any of it. What makes it worse is the huge but kind of repetitive unit roster. So, at the start of each mission, you decide which type of crawler you want, an offensive, defensive or support crawler. Different crawlers give you access to different unit types and abilities, but it also means that you never have access to everything at once. I think, and this might be a stretch, but I think the original concept behind it is that, like Red Alert 3, They wanted you to play this online with your friends. You'd pick one type of crawler, they'd pick another, and you'd support each other. But like I said last time, I don't mind co-op as long as it's a supplement to my single player experience, but not as a replacement for it. Playing alone means that whatever you pick, you're disadvantaged somehow. Pick an offensive crawler and you get good tanks, but you can't set up defensive structures. Pick a defensive crawler and you can build defensive structures, but you're stuck with a largely infantry-based roster. You never really get the chance to experience and develop strategies with either faction, because you essentially have 3 different unit rosters per faction. I'm going to move on from gameplay, but rest assured there are a multitude of issues that I have with it that I could delve into in far more detail. I just don't want to bog down the review. So I'll leave it at this. Every single game I have reviewed in the Command & Conquer series prior to this one, even the ones that I thought were subpar, every single one had the CNC basics to hold it up. Command & Conquer 4 has stripped away everything gameplay wise that made the Command & Conquer franchise the legendary series that it is, and what they replaced it with is nothing short of diabolical. I have nothing good to say about how this game plays. It is a Command & Conquer game in name only. There are a couple of good things to say about Command & Conquer 4's presentation. The graphics are pretty good, I guess, and Joe Cutchin is in it again as Kane. There, that's it. The only positives I have to say in this segment too, I'm afraid. The bad presentation isn't quite as insulting as the gameplay, so I'm going to make this bit quick. There are 3 things that I usually love about a good Command & Conquer game, and I'll tell you why CNC4 fails all 3. Number 1. Unit and level design. The level designs are all very similar to one another, with no real life or variety to any of them. This world is supposed to be on the brink of ecological collapse, and I thought that might have made things interesting. It doesn't. The units are also poorly designed. When playing a CNC game, you can usually tell at a glance what a unit is going to do. What's it good at? Is it quick and lightly armoured? Is it good against armour? Is it anti-infantry? Despite the vast array of units on offer, it's never quite clear what units are supposed to be or to specialise in, so much so that the developers had to put in a guide to tell you what units can counter others. This is ultimately pointless, as most fights just descend into a huge free-for-all of a constant line of never-ending units, but still. Number 2. The soundtrack. It's dull, it's boring, nothing stands out. Number 3. The video mission briefings. CNC4 attempts what has not been attempted since Tiberium's Son, the idea of giving your protagonist an actual character. Where Tiberium's Son used a third-person protagonist, we have a voiceless first-person protagonist. Now, I was perfectly happy in previous games with a voiceless first-person protagonist, as we were just sat in a war room and we were told what to do. Now we have this janky first-person perspective as if we're up and moving around. Our wife and other annoying advisors talk to you and then, for some reason, don't find it weird that you don't talk back. I don't know what they were going for here. What I do know is that I don't like it. Even if Command & Conquer 4 had a spectacular and entertaining presentation, I don't think it would be enough to save it from the sacrilege they committed to the gameplay. But it doesn't. It has a boring and stale presentation, so it's a moot point.
A moo point?
Yeah, it's like a cow's opinion. You know, it just doesn't matter. It's moo.
The only thing left to dwell on in regards to Command & Conquer 4 is how to give a score out of 10 that properly reflects my disappointment. So let's break this down, shall we? The premise, the pros. It is the culmination of the Command & Conquer story, and what am I saying? They botched that as well. This is an appalling culmination, an insult. So let's try that again. The pros, nothing of merit. The cons, a boring story that doesn't even make sense for the most part, and irritating characters that have no place in this series. The gameplay, pros, nothing. The cons, it completely tears up everything that established the Command & Conquer franchise and have replaced it with crap. The presentation, the pros. The graphics are alright, I guess. The cons, a boring soundtrack, and the mission briefings are uninteresting and poorly filmed. So we're finally at the end of the Command & Conquer series, and like so much in this world, it ends not with a bang, but with a whimper. It's a hopelessly bad game that gives rise to the notion that EA kills everything it touches. I gave them the benefit of the doubt, and Generals and CNC3 were good games, excellent games, but by this point they had clearly stopped trying. Everything that made this series great was absent in Command & Conquer 4. I'm not opposed to the idea of giving a 0 as a score, but I will reserve that for any games that are broken and unplayable at a core developmental level. Command & Conquer 4 plays as it should, it's just that as it should is not good. On a more positive note, I hope that the success of the remastered collection of the original 2 games can inspire EA to allow the people who know these games best to do what they do best and bring some new, excellent Command & Conquer experiences. But for this shambles, this abomination, I award a score of 1 out of 10. Thank you so much for watching, and for real this time, not only just this review, but if you've watched my previous videos on the Command & Conquer games. The classic review will have to go elsewhere now, and I'm genuinely excited to get the training wheels off and review some other games. I've lots of ideas for other content, so make sure you stay tuned. Sound off in the comments below and tell me which game should get the classic reviewing treatment. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe. I'm Strategy Tom, and I'll see you next time.